Northeast Ohio's #1 choice for news. Cleveland's own Fox 8 News starts now.
Now at 10 o'clock, coronavirus testing troubles affect the Browns and several other NFL teams. It started when dozens of players tested positive, forcing teams to cancel their Sunday practice sessions. But the teams quickly realized all their positive tests came from the same lab. Good evening. Welcome to Fox 8 News at 10. I'm Bill Sheil.
I'm Jennifer Jordan. The Browns retested the players and staff, and everyone came back negative. So now the NFL is investigating what it's calling a testing irregularity. Fox 8's Alex Stokes with our lead story.
A COVID scare across the NFL Sunday put several teams, including the Browns, on hold. Saturday's testing results initially showed presumptive positive cases for multiple team members, including players, coaches, and support staff, according to a statement Sunday morning. The Browns front office didn't want to take any chances and paused all activities and conducted all meetings virtually. According to the NFL, the tests could all be traced to the same laboratory in New Jersey. Hours later, the Browns reopened and resumed football activities, saying that the retest of those cases came back negative, which they said is, quote, consistent with the irregularities across the league from multiple teams, the Buffalo Bills included.
The league jumped on this early to let us know that it wasn't just our team, it was a lot of teams.
Speaking to reporters, both Bills quarterback Matt Barkley and general manager Brandon Beane said it was a good fire drill.
Today, I guess, was just a trial run of what that could look like if that were to happen in season.
Obviously, it can change game plans depending on, which players you'd be missing on either side of the ball.
The NFL released its own statement acknowledging the inconsistencies, saying in part, "We are working with our testing partner BioReference to investigate these results while the clubs work to confirm or rule out the positive tests." They added other labs used for NFL testing have not had similar results. In Berea, Alex Stokes, Fox 8 News.
Thank you, Alex. The Browns worked quickly to sanitize their building, and this afternoon, players and coaches were back on the practice field, but everyone who tested positive still has to clear protocol tomorrow before they can return to the facility. Now, speaking of positive tests, there are more than 600 newly confirmed cases of COVID-19 across Ohio today.
Here are the updated numbers from the Ohio Department of Health. Health officials are reporting 637 new cases. That is down more than 40% from Saturday's total. But Ohio's total caseload since March 9th is nearing 115,000. State health officials also recorded 3 deaths today, pushing the state's total closer to 4,000 lives lost since the virus arrived in Ohio.
One more step closer to normal, Governor DeWine is now allowing live performing arts theaters to reopen under certain restrictions.
But as Fox 8's Dave Nethers explains, local performers are in no big hurry to return to the stage anytime soon.
Performers with the Cleveland Opera Theater present The Barber of Seville remotely. It has been about the only way they can reach their audience given the guidelines and restrictions associated with COVID-19.
I don't even think that Socrates was going to be able to do it via video.
There's a lot of challenges, but I don't know, I can't imagine anything more challenging than not being able to do what it is you do.
Mr. Smart.
Likewise, performers participating in the Cleveland Public Theater's Student Theater Enrichment Program entertain a virtual audience with an original double bill production on Zoom.
When COVID came up, we canceled 2 shows that we were in the midst of running. One of them was a world premiere by a nationally known playwright.
After months during which there have been no performances, Governor Mike DeWine is permitting live theaters to reopen with specific rules for audience numbers, masks, and more. But some area theaters are not in any rush to take the stage.
Before we can go back in opera, since we do the most spewing of aerosol, we're going to have almost a vaccine and rapid testing available to control the environment.
A lot of organizations, those that are thoughtful, those that are professional, that are working with unions and professional organizations like Theater Communications Group, League of Regional Theaters, these theaters are not going to open using these guidelines.
Paying the bills with smaller audiences, close quarters on stage, even 6-foot requirements do not seem possible.
We usually have a pit that is not that large, and last time we needed to fit some 40 members of the orchestra in this pit.
We might open, but we're not going to open using these guidelines. We would have to take much stricter guidelines.
It just feels like it's not worth the risk to us. You know, art is essential, but life is the most essential.
I don't see us going back before September of 2021 at the earliest.
Dave Nethers, Fox 8 News.
Shortly after President Trump accused his own Food and Drug Administration of playing politics, the FDA just issued an emergency authorization for a potential coronavirus treatment.
The FDA has issued an emergency use authorization, and that's such a powerful term, emergency use authorization for a treatment known as convalescent plasma.
The blood plasma comes from patients who have recovered from the virus. The FDA now says the potential benefits of convalescent plasma outweigh the risks, but it has not been tested in randomized clinical trials.
The Republican National Convention starts tomorrow, and we are learning more about the first presidential debate here in Cleveland. The debate is set for Tuesday, September 29th at Sheila and Eric Sampson Pavilion on the Health Education Campus at Case Western Reserve. The debate will start at 9 p.m. and is scheduled to last 90 minutes. There will be 6 segments, each lasting 15 minutes. And when the Commission on Presidential Debates selects the moderator, that person will pick the topics for each segment of that debate. Fox 8's coverage of the RNC starts tomorrow. We will have updates on Fox 8 News at 10, and you can always follow along on fox8.com and through the Fox 8 app.
I've never teased myself before. As you may have heard, this is my final broadcast at Fox 8, so before I sign off, we're looking back on the past 21 years. What makes the story is not the reporter. Normally what makes the story is the courage of the people who will step up and talk to us.
Coming up, we will revisit some of Bill's award-winning investigations as part of the Fox 8 I-Team and why one former colleague called Bill his own personal journalism professor.
But first, in my final story for Fox 8, I talked to the only attorney to represent both O.J. Simpson and Dr. Sam Shepard in their murder trials. Hear how F. Lee Bailey got his start right here in Cleveland.
And after a sunny and steamy weekend, are cooler days on the way? Beth has the forecast for the final week of August when Fox 8 News at 10 continues.
Well, was it warm enough for you today? I know that thickness in the air, all that mugginess definitely added to it. It crept in this morning time, and definitely that nice dry air that we've kind of enjoyed for a couple of days. Long gone, at least for the majority of the week. Lorraine topped out at 87 degrees. Akron was at 90. Hopkins officially reported an 86. So your feels like temperature was pushing the 90-degree mark. Your car probably said 90, and then anyone away from the lakeshore was probably at 90. I expect that for tomorrow as well. Tomorrow's going to be kind of a repeat of today. There's really not a lot of activity out there now, but as we go through the heat of the day tomorrow, here's 11 a.m., 1, and 3, you can see the chances bumping into some rain showers that develop in the afternoon time. It's not really great, but it's there. So it's just more of the typical, you might run into a thunderstorm, you might not. In the meantime, temperatures, though, tomorrow will be right back up into the mid-80s easily. Your feels like temperature going to be a little thicker tomorrow, as we'll feel a little more tropical. And you can tell even by the little icons in the top, mainly sunny skies at times, and the clouds will thicken up in the heat of the day, mainly due to the dew point that's out there that will feel very tropical tomorrow. Currently, right now, it is thick out there. It feels like, or your dew point's at 70 degrees. That we associate with weather that comes out of the south, whether it's Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama. It's not usually that thick here, although this summer we've had our fair share of hot, steamy days. Tomorrow will just be another muggy, thick day. That air you can wear from the minute you wake up throughout the daytime. You can see the overall model puts us at about topping out right around 70. I think some areas will actually be warmer than that. So if you are thinking of heading to the lake for the next couple of days, winds are going to be coming out of the south or the west and then switching over to the southwest. Actually, the water temperature just changed back down to 71 degrees. So that's starting to cool off a little bit. But the lake should be nice and flat tomorrow. We're not really watching anything on Storm Fox. It was a little busy day for a couple of cities out there. A couple of you saw some downpours. But over the course of the next 2 days, we're going to have just these little waves of disturbances that come through. And then the heat of the day will bubble up some things, and then we might end up with some thunderstorms. Tomorrow, I did just give it an 86, but watch out for those storms that could develop. Nothing severe, but it will happen anytime, say maybe after 2 o'clock. Noontime, I think, is a little early, noon to about 5. Even on the hour by hour, when I show you this kind of gives you an indication. A mostly sunny sky at times, but the clouds will thicken up. We'll be into the mid 70s and into the low 80s before lunch tomorrow. But I think look for any of those storms, if they are even going to develop in your backyard, to be after, say, 2 o'clock. And then 2 to about 5 is the prime time. If you've lived here in Northeast Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. But once the sun sets, all the fizzle will be gone. But you can see Monday, Tuesday, 86 and 90. Your feels like temperature will be in the low 90s. And then we're continuing this trend all the way to the cold front that comes up on Friday, which gives us a chance of rain. More about those cooler temperatures and next weekend's gorgeous weather, you guys, coming up. But I'll tell you what, a little something for everyone. Haven't I said that almost every Sunday at this point?
Yes.
We're hot and then we're cooling down.
Right.
Hasn't changed.
The roller coaster continues.
It does.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Beth. And a reminder, this is not our traditional newscast because tonight is Bill's final broadcast at Fox 8. So we will take a look back at his remarkable career, plus a few special surprises. It's all coming up a little later this hour.
Okay, surprise is great.
And still ahead, Bill gets to show off his sportscasting skills one last time.
And JJ will show off hers with the first place Twins coming to town tomorrow. Could the Indians tame the Tigers to keep pace in the playoff race? Highlights from the rubber match next in sports.
Download the Fox 8 app today and get breaking news, weather, and more. All on your smartphone or tablet. Presented by Ken Ganley Nissan.
Sports time is now.
And after the Indians won 20 straight over the Tigers, Detroit bounced back to take 2 of 3 this weekend series. Cesar Hernandez led off the first with a home run as an Indian, and that tied the game at 1 after the first inning. There is the blast, but after this, it was all Tigers. Rookie Tariq Skubal struck out 5 in just his second big league start, and the Tigers offense teed off on Carlos Carrasco with 2 homers in the 4th inning. That would give them a 4-1 lead. Detroit's bullpen held off a late charge by the Tribe. The Motor City Kitties take it 7-4. The series 2-1.
Even the first inning, it feels great. But I don't know. I lose my slider. I couldn't throw my slider for strike. Fastball everywhere. So I don't know what happened there on the second time through the lineup.
The Twins come to town tomorrow for a 3-game series with first place on the line. Aaron Cibole will start for the Tribe. He's coming off his first career complete game. The Twins will counter with Kaneda Quintana, I hope I said that right, who took a no-hitter into the 9th inning in his last start. First pitch tomorrow is at 7:10.
While the Browns were waiting for the results of a second round of coronavirus tests, the front office added a veteran linebacker to help fill the void after Mack Wilson's injury. The Browns signing former Super Bowl MVP Malcolm Smith. He has a career in Seattle, helping the Seattle Seahawks win Super Bowl 48. But the 31-year-old only played 4 games last season between the Cowboys and the Jaguars. Smith could compete for a starting spot until Wilson can hopefully return. And speaking of football, another season of Friday Night Touchdown kicks off in less than a week. Can you believe that, Bill? Join JT, PJ, and Danny for the best high school football coverage in Northeast Ohio. And we are making a few changes this year, so you can see highlights from your favorite schools even sooner during Fox 8 News at 10. We'll have more details in the coming days. Still ahead, it's a story more than 60 years in the making.
Cleveland is a city without which you wouldn't have ever heard my name.
My final story for Fox 8, hear how the man who represented 2 of the most notorious alleged murder suspects of the last century got his start right here in Northeast Ohio.
Northeast Ohio's #1 choice for news. Cleveland's own Fox 8 News starts now.
And thank you for staying with us for Fox 8 News at 10. We begin our look back at Bill's illustrious career with us. This is his final story for Fox 8.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. F. Lee Bailey is what the story's about. He represented two of the most notorious murder suspects in American history. First, he defended Cleveland's own Sam Shepard and later O.J. Simpson. Both cases reached the same verdict, but for Bailey personally, the outcomes were very different. In a sense, Cleveland is his adopted hometown.
Cleveland is a city without which you wouldn't have ever heard my name.
Because?
Dr. Sam Shepard was considered an impossible case.
An impossible case that a young F. Lee Bailey won in 1966, first winning a new trial for Shepard at the U.S. Supreme Court, and then winning him an acquittal at his second trial.
Did you intend to yell not guilty quite that loud, Sam?
I've yelled it ever since I was arrested.
Sam Shepard spent 10 years in prison, convicted in 1954 of brutally killing his wife Marilyn in a bedroom of their Lakeside Bay Village home. Shepard always said the real killer was what he called the one-armed man, who he had struggled with after the murder along the beach behind his home on Lake Erie. And you're convinced that what Sam said happened on this beach is what happened on this beach?
I would bet my life on it.
When Bailey won Shepard an acquittal in 1966, his legal skills were the subject of high praise. A generation later, in 1995, a different case, the same verdict.
Not guilty of the crime of murder.
But for F. Lee Bailey, a different reality.
I have suffered, frankly, a great deal as the culprit in the O.J. case.
Bailey was one of a group of lawyers known as the Dream Team that won an acquittal for O.J. Simpson. Like Shepard, the Simpson case was called the trial of the century. Simpson was an NFL Hall of Fame running back who'd been accused of brutally murdering his ex-wife Nicole and her friend Ron Goldman. This time, though, the reaction to F. Lee Bailey's legal skills was quite different.
I have had lawyers who were quite rude to me about prostituting my talents for a guilty man, and they usually had another word other than man.
While different in many ways, the Shepard and Simpson cases have unquestionable parallels. Both involved well-off men accused of savage murders of a wife or an ex-wife, and both cases had star prosecution witnesses with deep flaws that Bailey exposed. In the Shepard case, it was Cuyahoga County Coroner Sam Gerber who sounded confident ahead of the second trial before he faced Bailey in a Cleveland courtroom.
We have the same evidence as we had before. We have the same people available, and we can go to trial tomorrow.
Gerber had testified at Shepard's first trial that the murder weapon was a surgical instrument whose image he saw impressed in a pillow. But he never produced one, and at the second trial, Bailey got him to admit that in the 12 years since the first trial, he'd never found an instrument to match that bloody impression. Under oath on the stand, Gerber was forced to confess, quote, "I hunted all over the United States and I couldn't find one." He lied?
He lied. When he said that's a surgical instrument, he had no picture in his mind of any surgical instrument.
Lying was key in the Simpson case as well. Bailey confronted Detective Mark Furman, who found a bloody glove at Simpson's home that was connected to the murders. Bailey's questions focused on whether Furman was lying about being biased, whether he'd called African Americans by the N-word.
So that anyone who comes to this court and quotes you as using that word in dealing with African Americans would be a liar, would they not, Detective Furman?
Yes, they would.
All of them, correct?
All of them.
Bailey had witnesses lined up, but before it came time to call them, a defense investigator found tapes of Furman using the N-word repeatedly. The defense theory was that Furman planted the bloody glove to implicate Simpson. After being caught in the N-word lie, Furman repeatedly pled the Fifth Amendment.
I only have one other question.
What was that, Mr.
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
That's the case?
He does not deny planting the glove. You can't take the Fifth Amendment unless the answer will hurt you. How would a no answer have hurt him?
There was evidence pointing towards Simpson's guilt, as there was in the Shepard case, but Bailey's cross-examinations helped create reasonable doubt in both cases. And in the Simpson case, another key dramatic moment was when the defendant tried on the glove and apparently had trouble making it fit. Bailey says he had baited prosecutor Christopher Darden.
Chris, take a look at that glove. I know it won't fit O.J., and you know it won't fit O.J., and I'm going to ask him to try it on. And he said, no, I will. And he did. And he
Would you have had O.J. try it on?
I'd try it on?
Yeah.
If I was the prosecutor? Oh, my Lord, no.
That moment led to defense attorney Johnny Cochran's famous closing argument.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
The jury did find O.J. Simpson not guilty, a famous photo capturing the moment that the verdict was read. The Shepard case here in Cleveland and the Simpson case in Los Angeles are really the bookends of the heart of F. Lee Bailey's career. But after Simpson, he found trouble. It's complicated, but he had a case involving a drug dealer where he said some stock was his fee, and the government said it was supposed to be turned over to them. A judge agreed with the government, and F. Lee Bailey went to jail for a little while, wound up getting disbarred and owing a huge tax bill. Do you think some of the issues you've had with the Bar Association, the tax issues, do you think they're at least indirectly tied back to the O.J. case?
No, I think they are directly tied. The causation chain is clear. You got him off as if it were a bad sin committed on my part. I mean, after all, even if he was guilty, my job was to raise a reasonable doubt.
At 87, Bailey is still active, apparently not bitter, and appears upbeat. He loves being who he is and who he has been. Love him or loathe him, F. Lee Bailey is grateful for his career and knows that some see him as a villain and others as a hero. And looking back now on the career that took off for him here in Cleveland, he rejects both.
I think that the best legacy I could leave, and the one I would like to have inscribed, is he always chased for the truth.
Again, Bill is retiring tonight after a 21-year career here at Fox 8, and we've got some special surprises coming up.
Great.
But first, you ready?
I don't think so.
We will take a look back at some of Bill's most impactful investigations.
I honestly get more feedback sometimes on a story on a boy with autism in Avon schools and the remarkable teacher in that classroom than I get on some investigative pieces. I feel great about both. See more, we'll call them highlights from my 2 decades with the I-Team coming up next. Hi, Beth.
Hey, well, you know, in the meantime, we still have weather out there, and some of you are looking for some rain. A couple of you, and I do just mean a couple, did get some rain today. I'll let you know when it's more likely that we all see some rain coming up.
Fox 8 News in high definition is brought to you by the Calvetta Brothers Floor Show. It's time to fall in love again with your home.
Well, chatting with Bill, let me tell you, wait till you see coming up, because the commercial breaks lately have been pretty interesting behind the scenes. You get to see a little bit of that, a little taste of that coming up. In the meantime, tonight, it is definitely warm out there. Have you been outside lately? The humidity level is up. We'll see clear skies. You'll see the sun come up. Days are definitely getting shorter. It was definitely a hot one today. It's still warm out there. Some of you knocking on the door at 80 degrees, 75 in Barberton, and then you can tell as you get closer to the lake, 77 in Paynesville. Lakewood's actually checking in at 77. Avon Lake is at 76. Lorraine's at 78. These temperatures will take a little bit of a dip, but not a lot, mainly because there's so much moisture in the air at this point. The dew points are going to stay on the thick side tonight. Tomorrow, just expect it to stay the same and then turn it up a notch or two. We're going to stay in that 71, 72 degree range for your dew points throughout the afternoon. So if you thought today was hot and you didn't like it, you're not going to like tomorrow either. We have a couple of spots, showers that are still lingering, and that could happen tomorrow as well, anytime after 2 o'clock. 86 today. Maybe your car will say 90. Your feels like temperature will be closer to the low 90s. Heading to the pool, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic day for that. Everybody in the same boat. If you're inland, you're going to be hot. And if you're along the lakeshore, it's going to be steamy. A little bit of a development of a lake breeze in the afternoon, but not the kind that's going to cool you off by any means. There's that chance of some showers. It is really tiny. I did put it up on the Futurecast, though, hour by hour. You can see we're into the mid-80s by lunchtime. And you can tell winds are coming out of the southwest, and there's some chances for some spot showers. Not a huge chance until we get after 2 o'clock. And after 2 o'clock, there's a little bit of a disturbance that comes through, and then you can tell we might see a couple of downpours of rain. More of the same that what we've seen in the last, I don't even know, the last couple of months of summer, July and August, were just the heat of the day. A little convection comes down with some rain. 86 tomorrow, 90 on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. I could have actually put 90 for all four of these days. It's just going to be a hot stretch. Cold front comes through in the form of rain on Friday. It comes in early, so that's why our temperatures dip just a little bit. But that cold front brings in cooler, drier Canadian air, or maybe Denver air. I don't know at this point.
Okay.
Just that cooler, drier air that everyone seems to enjoy so much.
I'm heading west, so that's it. All right, thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
Well, as a member of the Fox 8i team, I have sat down with some of Cleveland's biggest names.
And while some of them weren't exactly happy to see Bill,
That's correct.
see how some of those tense interviews turned into the most compelling stories. Well, while you may know Bill from him 10 years anchoring the weekend newscast here, he's an investigative journalist at heart.
The last 5.5 with you.
Yes.
Here's a look back at some of my I-Team stories that we hope have connected with viewers over the past 21 years from Lou Maglio.
Bill Sheil asks tough questions of powerful people, whether a terrorist fundraiser like Fawaz Damra.
There's a tape where you say on the tape that terrorism alone is the only way to liberation. Is that a accurate tape, and do you still believe that? Have a nice day.
Mr. Sheil, take care of yourself.
Or the former Catholic Bishop of Cleveland, Anthony Pilla.
Dioceses around the country have moved priests from church to church where that person encounters more victims. Yes. Has the Diocese of Cleveland done that?
Historically?
In your tenure?
In my tenure? I can't remember. I think it could have happened.
A producer from 60 Minutes told me we were the only people in America who had a bishop answering that question. And when you look at Bishop Pilla's non-response to the question all these years later, it looks even more illuminating.
This was 2002, and Bill produced dozens of stories over many years on the priest pedophile scandal here in Cleveland. He obtained a tape where a Cleveland auxiliary bishop advised church lawyers how they could hide documents on pedophile priests. He uncovered a settlement agreement over an alleged pedophile priest with Bishop Pilla's signature on it.
This is the Fox videotape of the Bill Sheil interviews.
His reporting led to a civil deposition of Bishop Pilla where he was asked about the priest.
Did you ever fire him as a priest?
Objection to form?
No.
Bill spoke to hundreds of people for those stories. Some of them had been victims as children.
What makes the story is not the reporter. Normally what makes the story is the courage of the people who will step up and talk to us.
A lot of people have trusted Bill over the years, including confidential sources regarding the Cuyahoga County corruption scandal that sent former Commissioner Jimmy DeMora and many others to federal prison.
That I've done nothing wrong.
And you didn't take bribes.
And I didn't take bribes.
Bill broke the story that there was an FBI investigation of county government almost a year before these 2008 raids made it public. Neither of DeMora's fellow commissioners, Peter Lawson Jones or Tim Hagan, were implicated in the probe. But here's what Hagan had to say after Bill broke the story.
We have no protection in public life, those of us who serve in public life, from the press attacking our integrity at every turn.
Months later, after the FBI's massive raids on county government, Bill's colleague Tom Merriman asked Hagan about his comments.
You were speculating.
Well, we had sources who said they'd been interviewed by the FBI.
I understand it, but your sources, anybody can say that. The FBI is not investigating Peter Lawson Jones or Tim Hagan or Jimmy DeMora, and nobody's talked to us about it.
There is no FBI investigation of county government. And then a few months later, we had all those pictures of the FBI agents carrying boxes out of the county. So there was an FBI investigation.
Bill often finds stories early. One example, the foreclosure crisis that gripped Cleveland a decade ago. His reporting led Congress to ask him to testify at a hearing chaired by Cleveland Representative Dennis Kucinich.
That is Slavic Village and what it looked like about 30 years ago, a middle-class neighborhood just south of the city.
When I saw, Mr. Sheil, your report, and I saw the claw of that steam shovel go into the house, I actually could feel that.
What I remember about that hearing is Jim Rokakis testifying next to me, the county treasurer, and almost getting choked up.
We're
we're losing hope, Mr. Chairman.
While some other states had received help for foreclosure relief, Ohio had not.
The power of that story and the power of the people in Congress was to get help for people in Ohio who needed it. They got $172 million, so it certainly made differences to a lot of people.
Another story where Bill was on the forefront was on the opioid crisis.
I relapsed while I was pregnant with her.
Starting way back in 2012, he traced the spread of the crisis from here in southern Ohio up to Cleveland and into Judge David Mataya's drug court program.
She's going to be dead.
Did you see it getting as bad as it has gotten?
Yes.
There's been a lot of reporting on the FDA approved opiates for long-term use, but they've only done short-term studies. Well, the head of the Cleveland Clinic's pain management clinic told us that in 2014.
Most of our studies showing the effectiveness of narcotics for chronic pain are 6-month studies. But based on that, we're recommending that people take narcotics for a condition that's going to last 40 years.
In addition to winning a DuPont Broadcasting's Pulitzer Prize, Bill, who is also an attorney, has won 11 prestigious national headliner awards, including 2 for his reporting on the opioid crisis.
But as you get older, you kind of see it as a validation of the people supporting you. The colleagues you work with, the managers you work for, and the people who have entrusted you with stories that are very important in their lives.
Bill has won national awards for several types of reporting. 2 examples: he won headliners for environmental reporting for a series on trying to keep Lake Erie's water safe to drink, and for feature reporting for a story on 4 men who were part of the Lost Boys of the Sudan, walking as children across deserts until they were relocated to Cleveland.
I like breadth, and I honestly get more feedback sometimes on a story on a boy with autism in Avon schools and the remarkable teacher in that classroom than I get on some investigative pieces. I feel great about both.
His former colleague Tom Merriman, who came to TV from law enforcement, wouldn't let Bill ask his first question for a story on Tom until he said this.
I still haven't attended my first journalism class or my first broadcasting class. And the way I learned to be an investigative reporter is you taught me. And it's not just me, it's a lot of people.
Bill Sheil, a friend and a mentor to many, and a watchdog for all of us. Lou Maglio, Fox 8 News.
But we are not finished just yet. Still ahead, some familiar faces share their farewell messages before Bill signs off for the final time. Bill, this is your life.
Oh, great.
We'll be right back.
Fox 8 News is brought to you by Union Home Mortgage. Get a mortgage you can rave about.
The crew begins at 4 a.m. Until then,
For joining us for Fox 8 News, both at home and online, the morning crew's here at 7. Online, the morning crew is here at 4.
have a great night, everyone. Have a great night, everyone. At home and online.
The morning crew will be here starting at 7.
Until then, have a great night, everyone.
Fox 8 News at 10. The morning crew is here at 4. Tomorrow morning at 7.
Until then, have a great night. For nearly 6 years, Bill and I have ended each newscast the same way. And while my dresses and his ties changed every day, one thing stayed the same. Like the writer he is at heart, Bill always ends every show by putting his trusty pen in his pocket.
Oh, my goodness.
Who gave you that pen, by the way?
My wife. My wife gave me most of my nice pens.
Okay.
Can I just put this pen in now and we can wrap it?
Yes, yeah. No, we're not going to wrap it.
Okay,
not
great.
yet.
All right.
Well, while we've been saying goodbye to Bill all weekend long, there are a few familiar faces who couldn't be here with us tonight, and they wanted to share these special messages.
Bill, I'm sorry I'm not there for your final weekend broadcast. I want to say you've become a great mentor to me over the last 9 years, and I'm going to miss sharing the anchor desk with you each and every weekend. Thank you for being you, but most importantly, thank you for being a friend. I'm going to miss our chats on the weekend between shows, and I promise you, we'll find someone to steal Jennifer's glasses during commercial breaks. You'll be greatly missed, Bill. Godspeed, friend.
Bill, thank you for being such a wonderful friend and colleague. Thank you for bringing integrity to Northeast Ohio journalism. We will miss you, but we wish you and your family all the best on this next chapter. It's not goodbye, it's just see you later.
Bill, you know what? It's been great this whole time working with you. You've always had something to say about my weather forecast.
Yes.
It's just going to be hot and steamy all week long, feeling like 90 until we get to Friday. So keep those air conditioning running and, yeah, hurry up and sign off so we can get to the little party.
And thanks for the wine. Thank you. Thank you, Beth.
But before Bill signs off for the final time, I have to try and sum up what the past 5.5 years as your co-anchor have meant to me. Here's a few photos that we'd like to share with everyone. I mean, you know, unlike we're the selfie, I'm the selfie queen. I always force you to take pictures. I have to put my glasses on here, of course. Remember that? That was the old set.
Yes, I do.
Remember we were in the temporary set for a while. I mean, we just went with the flow. Look at all the pictures that we've taken together over the years. I mean, we carpooled at Woolly Bear.
We did that, yes.
A couple of times. I drove to your house. I mean, we were here 2016. What happened in 2016, Billy?
The Republican National Convention.
Okay, and what else?
The Cavs won the championship.
We were sitting, not on this desk.
But a different desk when the Cavs won.
Yes, Jen Harcher was here. I mean, just so many memories that I'm going to cherish with me. I'm going to miss you, cherish forever. I'm going to miss you. Us talking about our girls, my daughter, your girls, you know, they're around the same age group. You know, you giving me advice on so many
and you've
things.
given me some. Yeah. We go back and forth. We're friends.
Go back and forth. Yeah. Good friends. I'm going to miss you. And we have this for you. This is just one of many things. We have the bubbly after the show. We couldn't bring the bubbly on the set.
Yeah, I may need the bubbly for the next 3 minutes. Okay.
But since you are one of the very rare news unicorns who's able to do everything from investigations to breaking news to politics, anchoring, and yes, even sports, we got you this special unicorn.
Thank you.
Nice,
Thank you
right?
very much. Yeah, it's beautiful.
There you go. We're going to eat this cake and bubbly very soon.
Thank you.
So take it away, Billy.
Here we go. I'll do this fast if I can. I want to say goodbye and thank you. But first, I note President Lincoln's Gettysburg Address takes about 3 minutes to recite. By comparison and importance, this is already too long. I won't use names here other than family names. There's just too many to thank. But I would start by thanking my parents, Nell and Bill. God rest their souls. And I want to thank you. Being a journalist on television is a wonderful and strange way to make a living. To keep a job, we rely on you to invite us into your homes. We try to bridge the divide created by that TV screen in front of you. We live here. We're not talking heads offering opinions. That has its place, but it's not news. It's just talk. The press is the only institution specifically protected by the Constitution. Reporters Without Borders confirms 941 journalists have been killed around the world over a recent 10-year period. If you're lucky enough to be a reporter or manage reporters in America, you should remember the gift of reporting here and act accordingly. That means in part doing investigative reporting, and this station has a 41-year history of doing just that. Cleveland is my adopted hometown. I've been here 31 years. My wife Eileen, a Cleveland native, and I raised our daughters, Lauren and Caitlin, here. After Eileen and her team built the Cleveland Clinic's communications department to an extraordinary level, she has now earned an extraordinary opportunity in Colorado. So we're headed west to new adventures. I've had an unusual journey. As a boy in Florida, I met several astronauts who my dad knew and watched in person the launch of Apollo missions that rocketed them to the moon with the help of NASA Glenn here in Cleveland. I then came to Cleveland for a while, then relocated back to southern Florida. Still a Browns fan, I was in the stands in the Orange Bowl when, ready Browns trivia experts? Mike Phipps hit fair hooker for what should have been a game-winning TD against the undefeated Dolphins in '72, but Miami went on to win. I went to college in Tulsa where I started working in radio. The opportunities astonished me. I got paid to cover college and pro sports. And wait, you're going to pay me to interview Elton John? By the way, I'm a fan of his music. He was very nice to me, and yet very shy. Some of us are different when the lights are on than when we're off the stage. I went to law school in Tulsa where I got the bug for investigative reporting. I came to Cleveland planning to stay 3 years, met Eileen, fell in love with her in the city. The rest is my history. I made lifelong friends, including playing tennis at Paramount and Westlake, where we still marvel at the line calls of a doctor friend of ours. We know he's not an optometrist. I'm grateful to the station and those who lead it that I get to leave on my own terms and know many good people in many fields, including my own father, haven't been so lucky. Thomas Jefferson famously changed the phrase life, liberty, and the pursuit of property to the pursuit of happiness in the Declaration of Independence, a radical idea. Conventional wisdom was you toiled here on earth for happiness in the afterlife. But there's another key, often overlooked word in that famous phrase, pursuit. You have to pursue happiness in this life. It doesn't find you. You must go find it. It can be found in many ways, but you have to go after it. So a final thought, we must take care of ourselves, but once that's done, ask yourself, are we ever happier or feel better about ourselves than when we help someone else? Maybe a key to the pursuit of happiness is to look beyond ourselves. Stay safe in Cleveland. Thank you.